All right. Everyone has been talking about this. Everybody has been talking about Steven Crowder and the divorce. And I think it's finally time for us to open the book of Revelations. And I think what better way to do it than to
Mhm.
talk a little bit about Ruslan and his opinion, since we love ripping into Ruslan. Glenn, how are you doing?
Bro, this is like the third time I'm going to be talking about this damn thing. The third time. And you know what? Let me just say this. I will say this one time only. I have TKO'd Ruslan this entire time. So that makes me the champ is here. The champ is here. All right. Moving on. All right. How to get some fun out of my day. Because I mean, this is the third time I'm talking about this. Or technically, by the time this video is viewed, it would have been the third time. But this is actually the first time I'm talking about this on video. So,
what's your initial opinion? Like, what do you think about this whole thing?
I don't have an opinion. I don't think there's enough information out there for anybody to come to an informed opinion. I think that what is out there is very sad. It's very damaging to an individual's, credibility, or I mean, their public, persona. It's
Their entire
damaging to the city.
reputation.
Yeah, the reputation is, under attack. Um, there's a lot of things that just seem kind of planned, right? So like I'm on both sides of it. Like, yeah, like you saw him, raise his voice, yell at his wife, cuss her out. And anybody could say, and everybody would agree, like that is not ideal. Nobody likes to see that scenario, where I think we're all kind of wired to, when we see a man like go off on a woman that way, we're all kind of like, ooh, that's not good. Like we kind of all like, like want to like,
We assume that something is wrong.
yeah, like we assume like he's just naturally being bad, like, or like what could she have really done to warrant, that I think that's a natural inclination. Maybe it's something that we have been taught through social conditioning, growing up. Maybe we have been, we have been shown that in media and TV and movies, that's the typical thing. That's always a bad thing. Because I remember watching the movie Radio Flyer, right? And the movie Radio Flyer with Elijah Wood when he was a little kid, like his stepdad or dad, whatever, would always beat up the youngest son. And they basically, built this like airplane out of a wagon. And the kid was like, Elijah Wood was helping his little brother run away from home and fly away on this wagon because of the abuse, right? And so you see the stepdad, the man, beat the mom, beat the son, and it just kind of sticks in your head, right? Like, oh, men bad, men beat women, men always bad person, women are never bad people. So I think we have this ingrained in us to assume that it's always the case when we see something like this take place. So, I think it's natural for everybody to kind of be like, oh no, what's going on here? This does not look good. So, I mean, it definitely didn't look good on him. The video did not make him look to be the very concerned or loving or, empathetic, man, and that's okay, because he doesn't have to be. We don't know the full story. That video doesn't, capture the entirety of the relationship. We
Yeah,
don't
we
know what
don't
led
know the
up to that.
before, we don't know the
Yeah.
after. I mean, this was done. This video is from 2021. That's 2 years ago.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, and that's the first thing I would say, like that's really kind of important to point out, is that video was done in 2021. And if it's from like Ring Doorbell, we don't know what service it is. But according to Ring Doorbell, like their default storage like service for their plan holds only holds videos for 60 days. Now you can change that setting and you could have it, manually, but you have to do it on the app. And even then, it only holds video footage anywhere between 1 to 180 days, so up to 6 months. This video being done in 2021, in June of 2021, so almost 2 years, because we're coming up on June. So that video almost being 2 years old, that means she saved it intentionally, right? With the intentions of using it in this manner. Now, that would bring up the question of whether or not, if she planned on saving this footage, did she plan on manifesting or manufacturing a situation to where he would react the way that he did to give her the footage that she wanted? Who knows? Maybe she planned this, argument or fight with him because she did say some key things that would definitely push a man's buttons, that would try to instigate him to react. And I think we're going to get into it once we get, the response or the reaction to Ruslan's video going through. But just there were things that she said in there that was like, you want to start a fight. That's the first thing I could thought of. Like when I heard some of these things, I'm like, okay, you're not trying to de-escalate this. You are trying to escalate this by saying these things,
Right.
But
And I think one of the most profound things that you said to me when I first called you back on like Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever it was, and I called you and I was like, dude, did you like hear about this? And you're like, I'm not making any judgments because we don't have all the information yet. That is the most important thing to understand with all of these situations.
yeah, I mean, that's what I've always said, dude. Like, I said that about the Andrew Tate thing. When people ask me, like, what do you think about Tate? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have enough information to make an informed decision. I'll wait till the dust settles. I'll wait till everything's out in the open and people, everything's out there. And then I'll make a decision on things and give my opinion. But I don't like to jump to conclusions and, assume something when I don't have all the information. And I think it's only foolish people that do that. Foolish people will jump to a conclusion, come out with their opinion and try to like assume that they're preaching the gospel. Like there's not enough information. Even now, we don't have enough information. I mean, the only reason why I'm even doing any talking points on this scenario is because I'm not talking about what took place. I'm talking about people's reaction. And I'm also going to talk about what potentially could be a more balanced approach and view at the scenario and look at it from both sides. I have no problem pointing out negative behavior that he's displaying and also the negative behavior that she's displaying. And, I think since nobody's coming at it at a balanced, mindset, I think that I mean, that's the only reason why I'm really talking about this. I'm talking about especially Ruslan's reaction. That's like the main reason why I'm responding to this, because I expected him to actually have more of a level-headed, balanced, outlook on this. But he's no different than any of the feminists that I've heard that said anything about this.
I swear, other people's drama becomes influencer currency nowadays.
Seriously.
So Ruslan does not care whether he's coming at it from the right approach or not. He is just putting it out there as soon as possible and having a heated reaction to it because he knows it'll get the views. So without further ado,
hold on, let me say something. He's a punk too, because like he was like trying to get his mods to start kicking people out of his chat. He didn't like the fact that people were disagreeing with him in his chat, like, or even making disagreeable comments with him. I'm like, dude, I welcome that shit. Like, I'm sorry, you don't have to agree with me. If you disagree with me, please comment. Please engage in the conversation. I would love to talk about it. I'm all about, bringing out different thoughts and challenging ideas. Like that's fine. That's great. That makes us better. It makes us more informed and be able to understand things. You know,
Yes.
like I'm not gonna kick you out of my chat because of it. Like I'm like, hey, where the mods at? Because the mods need to kick people out. That's stupid.
Dude,
mean,
I've seen so many dickheads in chat, but I just
but it's like,
whatever.
you know, why would you do that? Like you only want an echo chamber? You only want people that agree with you and like are your yes men? You only want people that are giving you attaboys and patting you on the back because they share the same view as you? You don't want to be challenged for your thoughts? Then then what you believe is never tested. He's not going through the crucible of debate. And you know what you are?
Glenn, could you raise your left arm and point upwards for me? Yeah, that's exactly how I feel when people start to act that way. Yeah, the good old F off.
Yeah. But you want to get into this
Just
video?
silly. Yeah, let's get to it.
All right.
How do we even jump into this topic? This is a mess and a half, huh? Steven Crowder responds to the leaked footage of him seemingly berating and just being nasty to his wife.
I first want to like just point out here that you could tell just by how he started this conversation where he stands on everything.
Immediately. Mm-hmm.
He's like, just by using the verbs and the words that he did, Steven Crowder responds to the video that leaked about him berating his wife. Berating? Like it was an argument. There was the berating. No,
I didn't see any
talking,
berating in that.
He's using the same talking points that all the liberals, all the feminists, all the trad cons that hate, that all the people that don't want to blame, that think that women cannot be accountable or do anything wrong. He's using their same talking points. And it's just like, dude, why you say you're not never mind. I just want to point that out, that he just started off like with this whole thing from a very negative standpoint.
Before you continue, I just want to say, like, this entire situation that occurred that was recorded, I think that he could have done a better job, especially as a leader, 100%. But I don't view this as a fight. I view this as an argument. I get in arguments with my girlfriend like this from time to time, but we handle them as adults. And I think that there was a failure on both sides here. And to say berating, that absolves all guilt from the woman. And I think that is a very, very, very strong misjustice against the situation. So you can go ahead.
I agree with you 100%.
Now, I mean, this guy just seems like a complete scumbag in this video. And to be fair to him, we're going to be looking at his response to this, as well as maybe this is a snapshot of when he was in a dark time in his life, and this doesn't encompass all of his relationship. But I tell you what, I've been married for 15 years. Never once have I spoken to my wife in this tone, with this aggression, using this sort of language. And I don't think this sort of behavior is normal. That goes without saying. But maybe this was just an off day. Before we get into his response, let me just briefly attempt to
talk about judgment, right? Judgmental much?
No, it's an unbiased video, an unbiased reaction, a very honest reaction.
Who's unbiased?
Dude, it's a joke.
I know this. I know he's not.
He's coming out guns
catch you guys
blazing
up to what was going on. Crowder initiates a bit of a civil war on Big Con. Basically, he puts out a contract from a major conservative publication saying that these deals are predatory. He didn't name names.
Let me point this out. Like this right here, this what he's talking about has absolutely nothing to do with his divorce. So
it's a hit piece. This is a hit piece.
He's turned it into a hit piece. If he was talking about the divorce and just the divorce alone, then he would just be talking about what the video was released and what Candace Owens is saying and what his wife is allegedly saying and what he's allegedly saying, right? That would be talking about this topic, just the divorce, in its entirety. What he's trying to do here is he's trying to frame up this conversation to point out that Crowder has a history of being abusive or reckless, or he is has some mental health issues, or he has an anger problem, that he acts irrationally, that he bursts out in anger, or just something. He's trying to paint this out like Crowder to be a bad guy, okay? Because what he's talking about right now is the issue that he had with the Daily Wire a couple months ago, and it had to do with a business transaction, right? A contractual agreement or whatever. They made him an offer, he didn't like it or whatever, and he decided to expose Daily Wire's business dealings involving the contract. And although he did leave some things out of the exposure, but it would not be a good look for a business, right? So Daily Wire is a big company, like independent companies like Crowder, like Ruslan, like they kind of get eaten up by these companies. They get absorbed,
Yep.
to try to make a name for themselves. And Crowder, from what I understand, wants to go solo and start his own thing. And, he decided to expose what he calls Big Con or Big Com or whatever, which is, big communication, big media. The what is it, the corporation
All
world or
the
whatever.
conglomerates that they have
Yeah.
out there. Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to use that scenario to kind of frame up and set up the divorce issue,
Which is very, very poor faith to set up a discussion like this, because he's painting with a black brush first, so that when he goes to talk about it, you already have in your mind, oh, maybe I don't know a lot about this guy, but I already don't really like what I'm hearing about him. So then whatever he says next
yeah. He's trying
snowballs.
to, again, like he's already framing him out to be a bad person. He's already framing him out to be a negative
Mhm.
person, and see, like he did this and this was mean and this was wrong for him to do that. And see, can't you just, who wouldn't believe somebody that does these bad things would be mean and berate their wife? Like that's the framework that he's setting up, and he's doing
And
it in
I have to say on this whole thing, when he's talking about everything with like the Daily Wire deal and all that, um, Steven's spoken very, very publicly about this. And the reason was, and I think Glenn, you had mentioned before, it costs money to run a production. It's not just like, oh, the X amount of money and then like we're good to go. Like, no, it costs a lot of money. And Steven was very, very firm with them. Well, what are you going to do for my people? How are you going to ensure their jobs? Because I can ensure their jobs, but what can you do for that? And they were very, very unclear on that. And he's like, well, I would rather keep control of my team instead of going in this direction where it's unforeseen. Because the last thing that he would want to do is have these people that are working for him for years, and they've all been working so hard as a collective to come under somebody else's umbrella, and then certain people just get kicked to the side because they don't think that they're worth it anymore.
yeah.
That's not what this entire thing was about.
I think his contract deal with Daily Wire would have been like what, $50 million, and that's a
Yeah.
huge number. Like that, I mean, that's a huge number for anybody, right? But in all actuality, if you're getting $50 million and you have to pay for all the wages for your production team, all the wages for your
Insurance.
insurance, your post-production team, just the whole production cost and alone. Production costs could be expensive, and especially if let's say that contract is $50 million for 10 years or something, right? Well, you might end up be spending like 35, $40 million over the long term, for 10 years for production cost, right? Whether that's your daily shows or including your specials, your promos. Maybe you're going on the street, so now you have to have a production crew. Like whatever the case is, like that's a lot of money that goes out into these productions. and that would make him leave with what, maybe 15 or $10 million for 10 years. I mean, to the normal person, that might be good money, but for somebody like Steven Crowder, who already has a good following, who probably already generates, $10 million a year on his own, him taking a deal like that would make him have to pay out more money or not get more money, he's losing money. That's just not a smart deal. So I get why he would not want to take it, but the way that Ruslan is framing it is completely negative. Now, I think you know more about the contract deal issue than I do, so I'm just speculating. So what do you know on that before we continue here about that?
Sure. Yeah. So essentially, like kind of what I was alluding to, kind of what I talked about, the reason why he didn't take it wasn't necessarily about the money. It was more that his team he was gonna lose control of his team, and he couldn't guarantee what he can already guarantee them right now. So like that's what I was saying. That's why I threw the insurance thing in there, because he gives his employees, fair paycheck, insurance, all the benefits that you would expect from a job. But once you get absorbed by a larger company, sorry guys, we got acquired.
Oh, so I
I
wonder if
can't.
he
Mm-hmm.
would have to meet their standards of how many people he could have on staff, and no, we're going to use our editors, not your editors, that type of
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
Oh,
There you go. Mm-hmm.
okay, so that would, I mean, if he built this crew and this crew has been with him the whole time, I could see why he wouldn't want to abandon them. Like, these are my people. I'm not abandoning my people. Like, they've been with me from the beginning. No, I get
Yeah.
that. I get that.
Like I can, because if you imagine it this way, yes, I will work under you as like a sub brand of you, as long as I get full ownership of everything. And but it's still, they still were not working it out that way. That's essentially why the entire thing fell apart. And they were painting it in such a bad light. And that's why he's had so much trouble across the board. I mean, granted, let's be honest. I've watched a ton of Steven Crowder shows, and my girlfriend has watched some as well. I know some other people that do, and they are very, very rough around the edges. Let's just say. However, it's funny. It's funny, and understand that it's all humor. It's not all
Like,
serious.
let me tell you something. Like, this is the first time, like, I never watched him before.
Mm-hmm.
Like this week was probably the first time I've ever watched him.
Really?
But like, yeah, just never was interested in this stuff. I don't know, but like, I'll tell you what, like, it's crazy that you get people like Ruslan and everybody reacting to this story. And see, I'm not reacting to this story. I'm reacting to the reactions of this story. I want that to be clear.
Mm.
I can't make an informed decision based off of what we see in a video. Okay. But because of everybody's reaction, and they're so absolute and they're so definitive in their statements, I am now coming out making my own opinion off not only the people making reactions, but now I'm also giving you, like, the devil's advocate, what the other side could have be. And I still don't know. I'm just saying, okay, since you guys are running with this narrative, I'm going to play the honest person here, and I'm going to be a straight shooter and tell you guys what it also could be and what it could not be. And from my perspective, because you guys all want to, like, railroad this guy. I don't know Steven Crowder. He could be an asshole, like, he could be a bitch. I really don't care. Like, but I'm still would do the same thing either way. But like, people like Ruslan and people are doing it. They're only doing it for this. They're just doing it for the super chats. They're just doing it for the money, the clicks. But let's continue, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Oh, shit. Damn it.
Holy moly. And this doesn't encompass all of his relationship, but I tell you what, I've been married for 15 years. Never once have I spoken to my wife in this tone, with this aggression, using this sort of language. And I don't think this sort of behavior is normal. That goes without saying.
Because your wife runs your house.
Maybe this was just an off day. Before we get into his response, let me just briefly attempt to catch you guys up to what was going on. Crowder initiates a bit of a civil war on Big Con. Basically, he puts out a contract from a major conservative publication saying that these deals are predatory. He didn't name names, but people put it together. And so Daily Wire responds, said, hey, he left out that it was a $50 million deal. He left out the particulars, yada, yada, yada. They go back and forth in a sparring match. People are questioning Crowder's motives. Is this his way of throwing his friends under the bus because he's friendly with Daily Wire and in trying to launch his own thing? Okay. Now, my assessment in all of that was that Crowder seemed a bit irate and just unpleasant in the way he structured the entire framing of the conversation, what parts he left out, which parts he pressed in, attempting to kind of make himself a martyr for the conservative online movement. Candace Owens dropped some subtle hints about us needing to pray for Crowder. We need to pray for Crowder. Crowder's going through some personal stuff. I don't want to speak too much into it. So that was what Candace Owens said in her video of this whole sparring match between Crowder and Daily Wire. Recently, Crowder framed it as if Candace Owens was attempting to extort him or blackmail him because he is seemingly going through a divorce, which is terrible. And that he wanted to keep it private. He wanted to not bring his kids into it. Understandably so. Respect that to him. Okay, wanting to keep it private. What happened next was just a complete mess around and find out moment. What happened next is this doorbell or whatever this footage is, this camera footage leaked. What this would point to is that she probably leaked that herself, meaning the wife in the equation, who he said he made a wrong choice in his video about his divorce, said he made a wrong choice, leaked that this footage of him completely berating her. So the wife basically threw him under the bus. She also put out a statement, which Candace Owens then also doubled down on. Candace made an 18-minute video. We're not going to look at all of it, but basically she plays this clip and reveals that while everybody was praying for Crowder several months back about some sort of procedure he had to have that was preventing blood flow to his heart, that it was really, really a cosmetic elective procedure because he had an ingrained chest, meaning that his chest cavity was ingrained. It's a condition. A buddy of mine has it, and that he got it corrected, and that it wasn't this life-threatening heart surgery.
That's bullshit. So anybody who knows like that type of some people are born with this birth defect where you have a concave chest cavity. Yes, it does have like severe effects on your heart. And
yeah, so doesn't it like make your heart work harder? Like, doesn't it like make your heart have to pump harder and stuff?
Some people could live their whole life that way, but it's not healthy. It's not good. It's not elective cosmetic surgery. The fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. That to me.
I do understand like there is like some form of it, like where it can be elective, where it's like, okay, look, if the doctor checks you out and be like, hey, guess what? You're fine. It's not gonna affect you. Your heart's pumping fine, you know, like, yeah, you have this thing, but it doesn't show any signs of causing any complications. But the fact that like due to it, like their chest sinks in, so their chest doesn't seem as prominent, you know, and it kind of makes you look kind of like wimpy, like you have you're weak because you don't have a very, as a man, you want to have a muscular chest, you know, a defined muscular chest. And for guys that have that issue, they don't get that definition. They just kind of always look like they're sunken in. So from an aesthetic thing, it doesn't look, it can mess with a guy's like image, right? So, but in that respect, it can be considered, you know, an elective, although there is a potential, there is major complications that a lot of it.
And that's what I think Ruslan is missing here. Ruslan does not do any research on.
No, he's taking he's literally just taking whatever the wife is saying, not fact checking her. Believe all women. That's his thing. He's just taking whatever Candace Owens and the wife is saying about this condition and running with it. He's not doing the research. I did the research, the majority of
Yeah.
the time it is a serious issue. It's something to seriously consider getting surgeries on, or getting, taking medications, or, getting an operation done.
And Steven was in and out of the hospital for a while leading up to when he did his elective cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't
Yeah.
know. Just that again, that is such bad faith statement. But
It is.
you can keep going.
Again, it's just like, again, it's just jumping to conclusions before you know anything about anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the narrative of Ruslan.
Surgery, the way he kind of seemingly framed it, but that it was more of an elective cosmetic procedure. She threw that under the bus because of the statement that the wife put out. I wanted to play you guys his response in this.
I commented on my ongoing divorce on Tuesday, requesting privacy in the best interest of the family, but also by court order agreed upon by all parties.
Now, I understand the need for privacy in terms of Crowder going through it. I respect that. But Crowder, the moment you told or framed or said that you made the wrong choice with your wife is, I think, when she completely said, oh, really? You have no responsibility in this? You have no wrongdoing in this? Okay. And I think he played himself by saying that in the video. I think he completely played himself in saying that, framing it as if he was going to be extorted, framing it as if he made the wrong choice and his wife was leaving him and he tried to fight for his marriage. I think he completely played himself with.
Now, pause that for a second. I would actually agree with Ruslan here. I think that it was inappropriate to say it in the way that he did.
Look, man, if he's saying, look, I hate the fact that I'm getting divorced. I try to make this work. I made the wrong decision when I got married.
I made the wrong decision. Not
that's what
I
he
picked
said.
the wrong woman.
Well, but still saying I picked the wrong woman is still saying I made the wrong decision.
Correct, but it's not received that way. That's the difference. I'm speaking in womanese here.
Okay, I'm not speaking womanese. I'm not speaking to bitches. I'm speaking to what he's saying. He's saying I picked the wrong woman to be my wife. Okay, that means I did not see the red flags, or I ignored the red flags. Okay, and now I'm paying the consequences for it. I saw that the fact that this wasn't, I saw things that maybe were complicating it, and I thought like we could work through it. I had, hopeful wishes or whatever, and I thought like, because we were in love, and that, I overlooked things that I probably shouldn't have overlooked. That's what he's saying. He said, I made the wrong decision. I'm responsible for making the wrong decision and finding and marrying somebody who probably would have better been off with somebody else, because I tried to force her to fall into my world and how I want things, force her to be like more compatible with me, or maybe she was trying to force him to be more compatible with her. And that pull and that tug of war right there, it did that too much tension. They weren't giving in, so then he's saying, I acknowledge that I made the wrong decision. I made the wrong decision by marrying her and putting babies in her, because he doesn't want, not saying he's
I
not
get it,
baby.
man. I'm just saying,
like he's taking ownership, and that's not what Ruslan's realizing. He is taking ownership and responsibility for his part of, damn, I should just pick somebody better. Like I should have picked somebody that's more aligned with me, not better, but more aligned with me,
But that's what I'm saying. You're not wrong at all, but we are looking at it from a very analytical men's lens. We're looking at it from how men understand things.
Where is Ruslan looking at it from it then? Because he's not a man.
He's looking at it from the female lens. Let me give you an example, because this is actually very timely and this is funny. So literally last night, we were watching trailers for different movies we were picking to watch, and my girlfriend had put one on, and I was like, we've seen this before. And then she immediately like exits out halfway through the trailer, and I'm like what are you doing? It's like, well, you said we've seen it before. You said we've seen that movie before. No, we've never seen that movie before, but I do remember this trailer. And now when we restart the trailer, we got to start at the beginning. We can't just skip forward. I'm like, why did you just immediately exit out? Because you said we've seen this movie before. No, that's not what I said. I said we've seen this before because it's two different things. And that's the thing that I think that Ruslan is like coming from. He's looking at it from the female lens. So when he hears I picked the wrong woman, it's a personal attack on the woman instead of I didn't do what I was supposed to do picking a wife. So he's just going over the accountability and immediately going to the feelings of the other party.
Oh,
Make
so
sense?
you're telling me that Ruslan is not thinking logically and rationally and concluding, doing through, I don't know, connecting the dots here, that what Crowder is saying is he's taking responsibility for not selecting the right proper mate. And instead of that, he's saying he's taking it as it's a shot at her. I don't think it's a shot at her so much as him saying, I fucked up. I made the wrong decision. I married the wrong woman. For me, it's like I married the wrong woman for me, and now I'm paying the price for it. He's not saying she's a bad
But Glenn,
woman.
you're missing the point. You're missing the point. It would be so much nicer if you said, we just were not a match together. Do you see?
Or
So
you know what,
I'm being
better
sarcastic
yet,
here.
Yeah, I know. Better
Listen to
yet,
me.
you know what he
Listen
should
to
have
me.
said?
Listen to me.
No,
Listen to me
this
for
is
a
what
second.
he should have said. This is probably what Ruslan wanted him to say. You know what? We're getting divorced because I'm an idiot and I don't know how to treat women, and I'm the bad guy here, and it's all me. It's all me. The little lady, God forbid, she didn't deserve me. Like, I was so bad on her. I hurt her, and you know what? She was an angel. And you know, I'm just an asshole man. And what else would I do? All I know is to fuck shit up because I'm a guy. All we do is ruin things, right? So it's just like the story is, like every other bad story about bad men. Yes, me, bad man, because I'm a guy. Her, innocent victim, because she's a woman. That's probably that's what the answer Ruslan wanted.
I'll tell you what, though, the most important reason why the way he said it caused so much, oh my God, I can't believe it, is because it tarnishes the woman's reputation. If he says, I picked the wrong woman, it tarnishes her reputation for the future. If he said, we just did not work out, no harm, no foul. But how dare you? How dare you tarnish the woman's reputation? That's why I'm saying language is so important to those that are very emotional. And that's why Ruslan's the wife in the relationship. All right. Is that it?
Releasing that video. And I think and again, I'm going to say this gently. Crowder's public persona has been pretty unbearable for a long time. And the fact that any of us would be shocked with this, the way he handled the Daily Wire situation, recently him making fun of Down syndrome kids in the name of comedy, the way he
Pause it again.
reenacted
Pause it again.
the George Floyd
Pause that shit again.
homicide.
That
Yo.
Down syndrome sketch that they did was fucking hilarious. My girlfriend works with like mentally disabled, like fragile kids, and even her, like, she died laughing at it, and she was like, they are terrible, and then just is dying laughing at the thing. It was funny. And the reason why they do some of the things that they do is because they're trying to push buttons. And it's just funny. They're not coming
Look,
at people with Down syndrome. And you know what? All I have to say is he's talking about Down syndrome, but have you even taken a look at his face right now?
Oh man, that's a good one. You know, it's like this, like comedy is offensive. Okay, comedy is you're either making fun of yourself, you're making fun of a situation, you're making fun of somebody, because that's what comedy is. You know, like I used to say all the time, like when I knew my son was never going to be a doctor. I'm gonna tell you how I knew that. Here's the joke, right? So I remember going to my son's first parent-teacher conference, and the teacher was being really nice to me. She's like, "Oh my God, I love your son so much." She's like, "He's such an angel." Oh, this is all his artwork. And then she's showing me all this stuff, and she's like really praising him up. And she's like really like, like just man, putting on thick on him. And then she's like, "Okay, so here is his test results." And they're all faced upside down. And she slides it toward me. And she's like, "So I want you to," like, "Are you about to tell me I have a dumb baby?" Because I already knew that. Like, I already know there's no doctors in my family. Okay, lady. Like, I'm good with what we have. Like, you don't have to sugarcoat it for me. You don't need to do all that prep work to make me feel good about myself, about my dumb baby. Like, I get it. Like, trust me. He licks the light bulbs. I get it. Like, trust me. Like, and she started laughing. And she's like, "Oh my God, a parent would never said that." I was like, "No, it's okay. I'm being funny. And I'm laughing at making fun of my son." Like, I get it. That's comedy. Now, my son is not stupid. He was very smart now, but I'm just saying, like, when he was little, he was a dumb baby. Like, it's okay. So you can make fun of retarded people. You can make fun of people, and it's okay. You're not, as long as you're not like
you can do
really
it without
into
doing it maliciously. There's
Yes,
like a
yes.
line, and everything today seems to be malicious when it's not. I don't get it.
I mean, shit. I mean, Chris Rock can't even say anything comedic about bald-headed women without their husbands coming up on the stage and slapping them. Okay, like, I mean, the people are so too fucking tight around their ball sack. They're all wounded up so tight down there that like they just can't take a joke. They can't take a joke.
Yeah. And that's exactly what Ruslan's doing here with his little crybaby face.
Oh,
is he's
dude, like we
going-
gotta capture this face
I know.
and put this as a fucking thumbnail. This one.
Wait, should we try and mimic him?
No, not at all. I can't look that ugly even if I tried. But let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue on it.
Yuck. Okay, and you can feel whatever way you want to feel about the specifics of his blood. Yuck. Okay, so the fact that this man has a consistent pattern of being fairly unbearable in some of his content, not all of his content, because I'm not going to say all of his content is bad, but some of his content, and that we would think he is somehow different in his personal life and he is not unbearable or frustrating.
Let me say this real quick
real life.
while he's talking. Like, this is all his opinion. There's probably a lot of people that don't think that Ruslan is unbearable, or not Ruslan, but Crowder is unbearable. And there might be a lot of people that think Ruslan is unbearable. Okay. Like, so this is all his opinion.
Kind jokes on you, right? And again, and the fact that this is all done in the name of being a Christian is one of the biggest.
Broken.
All right. So for Ruslan to say that, oh my gosh, like, talk about judgmental. Talk about judgmental. The Bible says about judgmental, like, check this out. So in John 3:16, everybody knows that one, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life, or eternal life, right? John 3:17 says, God did not send his son to the world to judge or condemn the world, but to save the world. So think about this. If Jesus, the most sinless person that ever walked the face of this earth, right, God himself in human flesh, sinless person, did not come here to judge the world, to judge people, who is Ruslan to judge Crowder? Who am I to judge Crowder? Who is Ruslan to say, oh, Crowder under the name of being a Christian? So is Ruslan the standard bearer of Christian? Is he now is he the authority, the authoritative speaker on who is a Christian and who is not a Christian?
Glenn, I think you're actually really off base here, because you have not read the book of Ruslan. It's actually an extension of the Bible. And in the book of Ruslan, you're allowed to judge everybody else. And it wipes out whatever rules he doesn't like.
You know what? Take that back, or I'm going to send shots your way too.
No, but it's that's so true what you're saying. Like he is.
You know what?
Yeah.
I need the church. I need the church to give me an amen.
I don't know what you come to do, but I come to praise the name.
All right, moving on.
Marriages are ugly, and in them people do ugly things. Myself, of course, included. I would never claim otherwise. However, due to recent misleadingly edited leaks to the tabloid press without context and not subject to consequences of the court.
So he's framing this again as if he's a victim and this is getting leaked. I don't know how much context people need to this. Now, again, I'm also not saying that Candace Owens is coming from these incredible, amazing virtues to protect women and make sure, like I'm not saying that either.
Well, if not privacy, the next best option is truth. So today, I have filed a motion to officially unseal all files as they relate to the matter of legal record, finances, relevant medical records, including mental health history or evaluations, depositions, and any motions or sanctions from the courts of Texas.
So he's filed to unseal all the records about mental health evaluations and finance. What is he hinting at? Is he saying that he's going to show that his wife is the insane one in the equation and that?
No.
That's the
Let me
point.
here, watch this. This is why he's doing this, folks. Because his wife leaked a video. Now, if you saw what he heard what he said in the beginning of it, he said because of the leak and people not obeying the privacy agreement that was made, right? Regarding their divorce scenario, that because that video was leaked and there was obviously an intentional effort to make him look bad, right? To paint him out to be the bad guy. He is petitioned for the court to release all documents pertaining to the, to the marriage, but not any personal information of between the marriage, but like their medical history, their mental health evaluations, their financial history, any type of documentation that would, that exposes it all. He said, I want to expose it all. Okay. And the reason why he's doing that is because one, now he has to clear his name. So if there's anything in there that could clear his name in the public court, not just the public court, but in court in general, because that video is done was released to intentionally paint him out to be the bad guy and her the victim. So he said, okay, you know what? This is taken out of context. And because I know what you're doing, I'm petitioning the court to make sure that everything is exposed. Since everybody's going to say that I have a mental health issue, that I'm erratic or whatever, I want to have my mental records exposed. Let the results from psychologists that give me tests are, state or show what I am. If I have anything, everybody will know. If I don't have anything, they could eat a dick. If she has anything, then everybody will know. And if she has a habitual problem with certain things that it's documented, everybody will know. So then the honesty, because he said the truth or the honesty. If we're not going to have privacy, we're going to have honesty. And I think that's important to hear there. But Ruslan ignored that. He's like, oh, is he trying to do this to make it to seem like his wife's the crazy one? Why doesn't Ruslan want honesty? I would want honesty over anything. No, I want everything out there open. There you go. It's out there, everybody. You guys can make your decision, but I'm being honest here. And this is everything that you know what I'm saying? Like this is all the documents and all the full picture that you're not getting. This is what you don't see, but I'm giving it to you. So now everybody sees it. The good, the bad, the ugly of me, the good, the bad, the ugly of her. Come to your own conclusions with all the information, not just a little piece of it. And that's where he doesn't get. And I don't understand that. I think it's so.
Glenn, that's the issue. You haven't read the Book of Ruslan. It's very different.
Book of Ruslan.
No, but that's so true. One thing that I find very dangerous about what Steven's doing is he essentially very early on in their litigation is essentially hitting the nuclear button, and he is just having everything blown out into the public. But he was trying to deal with it, at least from my understanding, was trying to deal with it in a very amicable and private way.
But can you blame
And
him? Can you blame him?
I
Look
don't
what
blame
happened.
him.
Look what happened to
I
Johnny
don't.
Depp. Look what happens to every guy that gets accused of something, right? Before the court case, before anything gets actually really sorted out and revealed, they lose their careers get sacrificed, their movies get canceled, their reputation is destroyed, all over lies. I mean, just think about what happened with the dude from that played in the Rocky movie, right? The black guy. Dang it, what's his name? I forgot his name. But his girlfriend called the cops and said that he was beating her.
Hmm.
And then he had an army commercial. He lost the army commercial. They canceled him, or they didn't release it or whatever. That's money that he loses. Projects that he was slated to be on, they canceled him. They dropped him because of the allegations. There was no evidence, just the allegations. So no, I understand why he's doing it. He's saying, okay, you know what? I'm releasing this out now because I already see that this is going to attack my reputation, my career. He's an independent, creator. He may have some sponsors, but his sponsors may pull out now after that video was released. They may not want to get behind him. So that means he won't have the money to fund or pay his employees or to produce the content that he produces if he loses, his sponsors. So he's like, you know what? I need to cover my ass here, and I can't lose the resources I have, or I'm out of a job. So I'm going to make sure that everything's out in the open. So my sponsors, the people that sponsor me, could see I'm being honest here. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah, it's actually a very admirable, honorable thing to do. And Ruslan is just like, oh, you're going to be 100% honest? You're trying to frame
That's not in the
somebody.
Bible. Don't be in the Bible. Don't be honest. Thou shalt not be honest is in the book of Ruslan.
All right,
He is
go on with this.
therefore justified in the heinous things he said to her. Like, I don't understand where he's going with this. Because that would be really dark. This is already dark,
Darkness.
but that would be really dark.
So it's
I will-
dark to expose somebody of their bad behavior, just like they exposed him of his alleged bad behavior. So if she could do it and it's not considered darkness, it's like she's not bad for doing that. She's not wrong for doing that. But if he does it, it's wrong. Where are we going with this?
Not be
Thou
leaking
shalt not
private
tell
marital
the truth.
information to the press.
But then what are we unsealing?
But if the privacy agreements are not respected by all parties, I will address all that is a matter of irrefutable legal record in full context next week.
It sounds like he's upset that she leaked that footage.
No.
I would
Okay,
be
heads
too.
up.
Had your kids, had your wife.
Explicit. Explicit.
Explicit.
I want you to notice something real quick. I want you to
I
notice
mean,
where
basically
he's-
threw him under the bus.
I want you to notice where he starts the video. I'm gonna fast forward it real quick, but I want you to notice where he starts the video. Okay.
Just the tone. It doesn't work either.
That's like towards the end of the video.
Wife.
Explicit. Explicit.
Just watch when he starts the
Explicit.
video.
Oh.
You just made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
Just the tone. It doesn't work either. We'll be back when you're back. Doesn't work either. Like, oh.
Is that where the video starts from?
That's actually at the end of the video.
That's towards the end. He doesn't play the full video.
And look at that stupid grin on
Do
his
you have the
face right
video
now.
pulled up? Do you have the video? Like the whole
I
video?
could pull up the actual one.
Can you
I
grab it?
gotta search it for a second, but I'll grab it.
He has been, and she is alleging that he has been emotionally abusive to her, and this video all but confirms it. So let's first get to the footage. I'm just going to allow you to.
I drew a boundary of abusive and cruel. You were not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do wifely things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
There is no grocery store. I do have
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first?
Sweetheart,
Hillary, how do you respect a man? Yes. How do you man respect other man?
Okay, so let me break this down real quick. We don't know why they're arguing, but we do know Steven Crowder is upset that the fact that his wife failed to do something that she was supposed to do. He called it wifely duties. So since they're talking about groceries and food, let's just assume that like she failed to go to the grocery store. All right, let's just say that she didn't go to the grocery store. All right. And he comes home. Maybe this is not the first time this happened, like, or she just, as pregnant women don't want to like go out of the house sometimes. They're pregnant. They feel big. It's uncomfortable. Whatever the case is, like, okay. But you know what? Since the pandemic, we've been having food delivery services. I could go on Uber Eats right now and I could order my groceries. And if I didn't want to use them, I could use Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods that would deliver for me. And they would deliver it to my door. I've had ladies my delivery ladies that would actually come in the house and put my food away for me. They were amazing. God, they just were so nice. They would, where's all this stuff go? I'm like, oh, I got it, sweetheart. And just came in with the grocery bag and put it on the table, started putting everything away. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm gonna give you a really good tip, so there's services that, that do this now. So even if she couldn't go to the grocery store physically because of her pain or whatever, discomfort of pregnancy, she could have got her phone and ordered groceries on the app and had them delivered to where she could have met her wifely duties, as he said it, and probably that would help avoid an argument. But the fact that she either didn't think it was important enough, or that when he asked her to do it, she was just kind of like, maybe later. And she never got to it. Still dismissive of what he asked her to do. Okay, so now he's mad at her, right? And he asks her, how do you respect men? And she said, yes, other men. You see, what is she inferring there? She's basically telling her husband, I don't respect you. And you're not man enough to be respected by me. That's what she's inferring when she says other men. Now, Ruslan knows the Bible. I know the Bible. What does Ephesians 5:33 say? Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. Those are commandments. Those are not options. It's not like, hey, guess what? Wives, if you want to respect your husband, you can, or you only have to respect your husband when you think he's been a good enough boy and he got enough gold stars that week. No, it's a commandment. It's you have to do this regardless of what they do. Husbands have to love their wives regardless of what they do. Okay? It doesn't mean that you get to stop being respectful when you want to. That's not the commandment. But Ruslan doesn't talk about that. Why? Because he doesn't even show this part. That's the most disrespectful thing she could say to him, is that I respect other men. But
that is huge, and that's interesting that you say it that way, especially looking back at the Bible, because I lent my car to my girl one day and she crashed it. And
I remember. Oh my God, that was so funny and sad at the same time.
I know. And after we handled most of the business, the very first thing I did was I gave her a hug and a kiss. I have to love my wife.
Beta.
That's just how it is. Yeah, right. Beta.
No, because I think from what I remember, the accident wasn't even her fault. Wasn't it?
No, it
was they were both at fault from what I understand. But
it was actually majority her fault.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, girl. You ain't never driving any of my cars.
She just couldn't articulate it and admit it because women hate to take accountability.
Yo, note to self. This girl does not drive any of my cars.
But one last thing I want to say on this before we go forward. I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Oh, God.
Here you go. Something to keep in mind.
Ruslan Jr., here we go.
Yeah, Ruslan Jr. coming at you. live. So she may be wanting to get out of the house to go vent or talk to her friend, but she's not communicating that. Communication is key in any relationship, and she is being very, very shifty in this entire thing. And I think that's what Steven's picking up on, is she is acting out of character.
Oh, so you think she's off her baseline? She's off her baseline
Uh-huh.
behavior, and he's picking up
Exactly.
on that. That
Yeah.
might be that's interesting. That's interesting. You know, here's the thing. Like, and we're gonna actually, I'll just play it and then we'll get to it. You know, then we can talk about it.
Let's see love. No. How did it make you? No, you're not taking the car.
Steven,
You're not taking the car.
Steven,
You are not.
then I
taking
will ask someone to pick me up. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
It's not about Steven.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Steven, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Steven.
Like I.
Let me stop it right there. Okay. Let me point out something. She was taking the car because she wanted to leave. He said, no, you can't. You're not taking the car. Okay. What does Ephesians 5:22 say? Wives, submit to your husbands in everything. Wow. I'm using biblical references, people, here, because one, Steven Crowder and his wife Hillary are Christians, professed Christians. Ruslan is also a Christian. He likes to beat the red pill over the head with the Bible all the time, but he takes the Bible out of context. I am using the Bible in context. I'm using it according to what the word says. I'm not trying to miss it. I'm not trying to interpret it. I'm not trying to give you my impression of what the Bible is saying here. I'm telling you exactly what the Bible says. And you can fact check me on it. Ephesians 5:22. Wives, submit to your husbands, just as you submit to the Lord. As the husband is the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the church. So, and the church submits to the Christ. So, in wives, submit to your husbands in everything. It doesn't say wives, submit to your husbands when you want to. Wives, submit to your husbands when it's convenient. It says wives, submit to your husbands in everything. If your husband says, no, you're not taking the car for whatever reason, even if he's being an asshole, fine. Here's the keys. And you go somewhere, you find another ride. You find another means. Okay. He asked, it's like, okay, fine, I'm going to get somebody to pick me up. Who would you like me to call? Why is she saying that? Because she wants to call somebody and say, Steven's being mean. He's being controlling. He's not letting me take the car, without saying why. Because he said why earlier. He said that since you don't want to do wifely duties, I'm going to go to the store and get the groceries. That's what he said. Okay. And that's one reason why he needs a car. Two, if she's not doing what she's supposed to do or agreed upon what's supposed to do and didn't try to make any communication or any way to remedy it because of, her pregnancy, she seems to be up and moving around pretty well right now. So the pregnancy can't be too stressful on her to where she can't do something. She wants to take the car and go somewhere. Fine. But he's saying, no, you can't. I don't think it's a good look for him personally, but regardless of how it looks, the Bible says submit to your husbands. So her as a Christian woman is not submitting to her husband in everything. Ruslan is attacking him and saying that he's berating her, he's controlling her, whatever he wants to say, not letting her go out. Okay, he's not withholding her from not going out. He's saying, no, you cannot take the car. He didn't say, no, you cannot leave. He said, no, you cannot take the car. All right. But the reason why she wants to call somebody is to make him look bad. Ruslan, or he's not letting me take the car. Can you come pick me up? Big bad mean Steven is abusing me. And that's the narrative that she wants to paint. Because as soon as he said, no, why don't you just take an Uber? And she's like, Steven, I can't.
I can't.
Why can't you take an Uber?
I can't.
Why can't you take an Uber? It's not like you don't have money, because you guys they're well off. They're loaded. They got a lot of money. All right. So it's not like she doesn't have the resources to take an Uber. Well, what's the difference between an Uber and calling a friend to pick you up? Oh, because the friend you could gossip to and talk bad about Steven about, right? This Uber driver doesn't give a fuck about you.
Are you ready for devil's advocate here?
Oh God, here you go, Satan.
Well, let's say, for instance, that Steven runs the Uber account and Steven's the one calling the Uber. she may not want him to know where she's actually going because she may want to go to the grocery store. And then what I had said previously, she may want to go to a friend's house and vent about her experiences. Or
fine. She could take an Uber and it still be private, because even though I
no,
don't know how can he run her Uber if it's an app on her phone? Like, how can you get into the account? Like,
I'm just playing hypotheticals.
well, I'm just saying hypothetically, how can you do that if she has a password, if he has, if she, like, I mean, unless
Glenn, you must have been out of the game for a while, because I have been with many women where I send them home in an Uber. I order the Uber, they get in the car, and I let it ride. I could GPS track
so
it,
you
but
can-
I don't give a shit. I send
Okay,
them on
see, I
their
don't- I don't-
way,
I don't
and
know that.
I send them on their way, and I hope they don't throw up in the car.
all I know is, like, I've always paid for my own Uber, so I didn't know you could actually get an Uber for somebody else. I'm sorry, I'm not that cool yet, kids. But regardless, like, why wouldn't she want her husband to know where she's going? How bad does that look? Oh, I'm leaving, but I'm not going to tell you where I'm going. Oh, I'm going to be back when I'm going to be back. Wait a minute, where are you going? You're pregnant. You're 8 months pregnant. You said that you're having issues here. Like, what's going on? Like, like, this is not a good look. Where are you going? How long are you going to be? Like, those are things that
I don't know, Glenn. I'll be back when I'm back.
But he has the right to inquire about where she's going. 1, 2,
Right.
like, every girl asks a guy that. If a guy's saying, "Hey, I'm taking off," she's going, where are you going? And if a guy said, "I'm going out, I'll be back when I'll be back," oh my God, do you think that will go over well? No. So it's the same thing.
Steven.
Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't be home. You're gonna take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxed in you've made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
See,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, "I'll be back when I'm back"?
Steven.
And making it work. Can you do that? The only way out of
Oh,
this
that was
is just
interesting. That was interesting.
Hey, we'll be on with your
That's not
regular
even
programming
the
and
full video, but
take the car and leave me.
What was that?
that's interesting. I don't think that's even the full video either, but that's interesting. I noticed at a certain point when he starts to kind of lose it,
Mhm.
I noticed it's a little grainy. The quality is not great, but I noticed her looking directly at the Ring camera. I mean, I do have the full video if we want
You have
to
it up
play
ready?
that.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
I'll drop this.
dude, I got it like right after you did this.
Okay, well then I'll close this out and then you open it up, because
Okay.
I really want everybody to get a full view of this. And here's the thing: I am not Team Crowder. I don't give a fuck about that guy. I'm Team Honesty. I'm Team Truth. I want everything out there. I want every opinion and option available. Okay, I want a fair and balanced approach when people are assessing these things. Because you know what? Any one of you guys that are listening to this, if your public business was put out there and you were made to look like a bad person when you're not, you would want the same damn, respect. You would want somebody to give you the same opportunity to be not looked at as the monster and looked at as at a very non-biased way, and say, you know what, we really don't have all the information on this, but let's look into this a little bit further and point out some things. Because if we're looking at all the reactions and all the body language stuff, you're gonna see just him reacting and thinking that he's a bad person. Was this from the beginning?
Yeah, let's do a clean run through. And one of the things we're just going to do a clean run through, start to finish.
No
3.5
stopping.
minutes.
No
No
stopping.
stopping. And one thing I want to point out to everybody: watch her body language. Also, one of the things that may not be able to be seen here, the video is actually missing 45
We'll go
seconds
full
of
screen
footage.
with it. We'll go full screen with it.
Isn't it full screen? Or yeah, we can do that. I don't know if it'll show up, but one of the things to note is there's a timestamp on the bottom right. It may not show up in this format, but one of the things that Myron from Fresh and Fit had pointed out that I thought was really interesting is there's a lot of different things that we all picked up on here. And one of the things that he noticed is that there's actually a cut. So it's like 27 seconds in or so, something like that. There's a 42-second cut of footage.
It's at the timestamp is 12, 35, and 22 seconds, and it cuts to 12:36:03. It's like a 41-second jump cut.
And you'll notice that in that cut, which is fairly early in this like full clip, you'll notice that Stephen then is grabbing and holding a pillow, which is a protective, comforting type of maneuver. So who knows what transpired during that time and why, if she released this to the media, which she had to, because as you pointed out with Ring, this has to be stored. Why was that period of time taken out of context? That's why Steven Crowder went forward and said, I want everything open to the public. Everything. Because he knows that he's being painted in a bad light on purpose. Boom. Let's go ahead and play it.
You just did it. I drew a boundary of abusive and cruel. You were not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do rightful things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
There's no groceries. I would have to.
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first? Hillary, how do you respect the man? Yes, other than man, you see love and respect. No, other than man, no, you're not taking the car.
Steven,
You're not taking the car.
Steven,
You are not.
then I
taking
will ask someone to pick me up. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
It's not correct, Steven.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Steven, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Steven.
Like I can't
Steven.
go. Listen to me. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't be home. You're gonna take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxed in you've made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
Steven,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back when I'm back?
Steven,
And making it work. The only way out of it is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impasse.
we are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline or respect.
Steven,
Yeah. There you go. You throw your hand, you give up so easily.
I don't give up, Steven.
Hillary,
Steven,
you give up so easily.
I'm
I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. You said, then we're at an impasse.
Steven, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Steven, your abuse is sick. Your abuse
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it. Fucking watch it.
I'm gonna let go. I'll get what you need me to get. And I need some space. You need to just fucking baby for a little bit. Okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you. And the fact is, when I go, look, I need you to do A, B, C, and D, you just be disciplined about it. You go, no. But I love you more than life itself. Okay. Put on some gloves. No. But I love you more than life itself. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's disingenuous. Hillary, you're right. We're at an impasse. Become someone, listen to me, day in and day out, worthy of a wife. No, not as a wife. I didn't say as a wife.
As a wife.
Hillary, come on now.
I'm not gonna engage. I'm not gonna engage anymore. I'm gonna go. I'll get text me what you need. I'll get you what you need. I love you. I'm committed to you.
Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not gonna.
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm good.
Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dogs? No, you take that in.
Now, here's one thing that's interesting.
What's that?
Let's pull this back together. So here's one thing that's interesting about this video, especially at the end there. It said he continues to go inside, and however it was phrased. Let's pause it
I drew a
on
boundary. I drew a boundary.
Let me just get it set to that end screen, and then I'll open it. I'll open the conversation topic. Okay, so one of the things that's very interesting about this as well is at the very end, they put this as the Crowders head inside. Stephen gets angrier and angrier, and by his own admission, screams, "I will fuck you up," at his pregnant wife, Hillary, who then flees their home. I don't know how I feel about that, because that almost sounds as bad faith as a lot of the things that Ruslan has said.
Well, you know what?
How do we know that? How do we know that that's even what occurred?
I'm waiting to see if he refutes that. You know, as of right now, and his response video to the leak video, he didn't refute really anything. You know, he just said that things are taken out of context. So he may have well said that I will fuck you up out of anger. And you know what? That's not a good thing for him to do. It's a bad look for him. Definitely. It definitely is not a sign or display of loving his wife, you know, but we all fall short. We're not all perfect. You know, him saying that is just as bad as her not submitting or respecting him. It's just as bad as her saying that she respects other men. It's just as bad as her indicating that she's gonna, who do you want me to call? Who do you want me to embarrass you with since you won't give me the car? You know, it's just as bad as what she's doing. So I'm not taking away anything that he did. Okay. Like, I honestly think that, like, once she started to do what he said, he's like, oh, you're just going to give up that easily. He should have fucking let it go. Okay. He should have just said, okay, cool. I'm mad at you still, but as long as you're doing what I asked you to do, fine. You know, like, but the funny thing is, like, when he says that you don't love me, okay, I want to point out something. Men view love with respect. She told him earlier she respects other men. Right out the gate, she said she's telling him, I don't love you. If he's saying that she doesn't respect him.
That's
okay.
womanese right there, right?
Let me point out what the Bible says again. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Wives, respect your husbands. These are commandments that you could say in this scenario, in this video, neither of them, you could say, are doing both of either of those things, either of those commandments good or at all. Okay. Now, when we get back to Ruslan, he's going to point out that, like, you know, when he says discipline and what was he said? Discipline and respect. I think that's what Crowder says.
Yeah.
Okay. When he says discipline and respect, Ruslan makes it seem like a husband cannot discipline his wife, that a husband doesn't have the authority to correct his wife's behavior and hold her accountable.
Again, Glenn, you need to read the book of Ruslan.
You ready? That's a warning shot.
I'm going to continue trolling you on this.
But, you know, the thing is, like, since you could say that there's a good indicator that neither of them were behaving the way that they were commanded to. But again, there's in Ephesians 5 from 21 all the way down to 33, they are given 4 commandments. One, they're supposed to submit to one another, meaning submit to the roles that you are given. Submit to the fact that he is your husband and she is your wife. Don't try to interchange them. Don't try to swap roles, okay? That's what it says in verse 21. In verse 22, it tells wives to submit to their husbands. She was not being submissive to her husband. Her husband told her, no, you cannot take the car. Okay, she tried to continue to take the car. She took the keys, and obviously that's what led them into the house to start a fight, right? Even further. So she's not being submissive to her husband in everything like the Bible says. Okay, you could argue that he is not being loving to her, like loving his wife as Christ loves the church. But you know what? I would have pushed back a little bit on that. I don't like his tone. I don't like his delivery. I don't like the words that he said. I think he could have chose better words. But to say that him correcting his wife or holding his wife accountable or disciplining his wife is not an act of love, then that would be a lie. Because you know what? You love your kids and you discipline your kids. Okay, you discipline them because you love them. You hold them accountable because you love them. When you discipline somebody, disciple comes from the word discipline. Okay, right? So when you disciple somebody, that means you are leading them, but also correcting them from when they're doing wrong. So if you love somebody, you will discipline them. You will hold them accountable, call them out, and say, you are wrong here. And because you are wrong here, you have to fix this. There's a remedy that you need to find out. You need to fix this solution. You need to do some work here before we can move forward, because we are at an impasse. We have a problem. He has every right to hold his wife accountable and correct her and discipline her. That's what the Bible says, okay? You know, there's not a verbatim scripture that says, oh, you get to beat your wife. I'm not saying that. I'm not even suggesting that. I'm not talking about he has the right to pull her pants down and spank her like she's a toddler, but he does have the right to say, no, we're not doing this. No, you're not taking the car, okay? He has the right to do that as the head of the household. That is his position. He has every right to do so. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. They're not talking about that she wasn't respectful to him, that they both failed, okay? But she was doing it intentionally with the camera.
You don't see Steven putting anything out.
No.
Right?
No. And I think, again, he didn't refute anything that took place, because he's like, in that video, he could have said, you know what? I didn't say that. I didn't tell her I was going to fuck her up. If he really didn't say that, I think he would have came out and said, I did not say that, you know? So maybe he did say that. And then, you know what? He's wrong for saying that if he did. You know, again, there's no innocent party here. Okay, there's no innocent party here. They were both not on their best behavior. Let's just say that. But you know what? Women like to push buttons to instigate, to get a guy to react that way. And that's how everybody's looking at it. Oh, he's mean. He's big and bad. He's evil. You're not watching the manipulation in front of your eyes. Okay? How do you respect men? Other men. What are you implying? Oh, I'm not respectable. I'm not worthy of your respect as your husband. Wow. So the Bible, that way it says that wives respect your husbands. I don't qualify for that because I'm not worthy enough as a husband. I didn't know that there was a criteria I had to meet in the Bible to be respected. It doesn't say anywhere in the scriptures that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If Ruslan and Bible beating, Bible thumping people are going to use this to say that he's not a Christian, but she is, then they need to read the Bible again and realize that they are so far off base that they let their feminist liberal churches, lead them down a very wrong path. But they're both wrong, in my opinion. They both could have done better,
Very, very much so. And one of the last things that I just want everybody to pay attention to, if you watch that video back or if you've seen it again, watch it without sound. Now, the reason why I say that, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, if you watch the body language, she is the aggressor in this situation, which is very interesting to think about as we go through this whole thing. So just putting that out there. Do that as an exercise.
I haven't done that yet. I think I'll do that next. I think I'm going to do that after this.
It's very interesting.
But
all right, we can switch back. Yeah, let's go back to the
Ruslan, and we'll finish up.
Oh gosh!
You understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you're going to be back on back?
Student.
The only way out of this is discipline and respect.
The only way out of this is discipline and respect. Oh, guys, this is not what complementarianism is. This is not how you get your wife to submit to you.
You're right.
Discipline and respect. This is not it, bud.
Let me tell you something. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, men, you are supposed to make your wife submit to you. Men, you got to remind your wives to submit to you. It doesn't say that in the Bible. He's right there. You know why? because your wife's supposed to read the Bible too, and she's supposed to know that God commanded her to respect you. All right. But here's the thing. The fact that he has to tell her the only way to remedy this is discipline or respect is a clear indication that she has they're done. They're done way before this argument. If a guy has to say, hey, you need to respect me, you need to respect me, then you're never going to win that appeal. She's already in her mind, she's saying you're not worthy of it. She already said it basically. But he's right, though. We're at an impasse. How are we going to fix this? How is this marriage going to continue? How is this marriage going to keep, be able to recover from this? You need to be disciplined for your bad behavior. I got to hold you accountable for the bad behavior you're doing. Okay. And you have to show me respect for who I am, the position I hold in this marriage. And if you can't, then you're right. We're at an impasse and we're done. So there's nothing wrong with what he's saying here.
This is not oh. Oh my gosh.
The only way out of it is we're at an impasse.
We are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. You throw your hand, you give up so easily.
I don't give up, Stephen.
You give up so easily. I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. You said, then we're at an impasse.
Stephen, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Stephen.
And this doesn't
is where-
encompass all of his relationships.
This is where I said, like, he fucked up, right? He, as soon as she started like complying or doing whatever he was asking her to do, I think she was getting ready to take the dog for a walk or whatever, right? Let me go back to it. Let me see.
I mean, hell, I'll tell you, like, when I think the best thing that he could have done, I just want to touch on that for a second. The best thing that he could have done is been like, I don't understand why we're having this fight. Come here, sit down, let's talk about it. And if another way to do that is just to get up and grab her and hold her. But then you guys actually have the physical touch, and then you can go ahead and like figure it out together. But there was none of that. There was so much built up animosity. At this point.
You could tell that this was long coming, and either he was at the point where he's just like, I am done with the disrespect, because okay, I don't know. Again, I cannot say that this is a habitual thing that she did. I don't know how Steven Crowder is. I don't know how it is to live with him. I don't know how it is to work with him. I don't even know what he says on his TV or his shows. I haven't even watched them. But I can tell you that a man will get tired over time, that every time that he asks his wife to do something for him and she never does it, and there's always an excuse why it can never get done, but she makes sure that her things get done. After a while, that gets very frustrating, and you could, be gracious, you could be empathetic for only so long until you have to look at the medium is the message. And that's what I want to point out here. The medium is the message in this scenario. Does she respect him? She told him no. She respects other men. Okay. So if she doesn't respect him, she's not loving him. Okay. Sorry. I don't think people realize that guys understand respect is love for us men. Okay. Ladies, if you respect your man feels that you love him. Hands down. I don't think there's a guy in this world would dispute that. If you're disrespectful to your man, he's not going to feel loved. No matter what you buy him, no matter how much blowjobs and ass you give him, he's going to be like, man, she doesn't love me, but she's just a good fuck. Like, respect is what makes men feel that they are loved by their wives. So if she's not being respectful to him, when he says that you don't love me because you never follow through with what I'm saying or what I ask you to do, he's literally telling her the medium is the message. You say you love me, but when I ask you to do something, you don't do it.
You say you love me, but you never actually show it.
Your actions don't show your love. The medium is the message. Don't take what people say as fact. Watch what they do. If their words and their actions align, cool, true. If their words and their actions contradict each other, something's up there. And that's what he's pointing out to her when he says that. But let's just finish it off real quick. So,
Get it to you.
Put some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not gonna.
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those
And again, I'm just at a loss on like, why can't you walk the dogs? Let's say Steven's been on the road and he's been traveling, he's jet lagged, he's been working hard. There's an expectation of the house to be maintained. In this footage, it doesn't seem like that the outside is crazy looking. It looks like they have a pretty decent house. But let me just flesh out a scenario for you guys.
why would
Okay,
she
bear
be-
with me.
Here's the thing.
And he
Why
comes
would she
home
be
and
cleaning
the inside of the
outside
house is completely crazy. And there was expectations that he had.
You know, like she's not
and
doing the
he
yard
comes
work.
home
She's
and
not cleaning the
dogs are
pool.
sick,
Fucking-
and the house is a mess, and he hasn't slept. He's jet lagged. He's coming from a tour
Dude,
or
it's
whatever
more
he
work
does.
to get in the car, go to the store, pick everything up, and then come home than it is to just walk the dog around the block.
Okay, so you want me to tell you what I think it is? I think he's giving her a compliance test. Okay, so here's an example. When I was in law enforcement, right, and I'm walking up to somebody, I'm about to detain them, right? I'll say, put your hands behind your back, intercross your feet. Like, that's a compliance thing. I'm testing their level of compliance. Are you going to be a difficult person for me to deal with? When I ask you to cross your feet, even though you crossing your feet may have nothing to do with me putting you in cuffs, or if I ask you to turn your head this way, and it may have nothing to do with you getting detained or me patting you down, right? I'm testing to see how well you are willing to comply and follow directions. If you are being resistant, then I know, okay, when I approach this person, I have to approach them a little bit more forcefully. But if this person is being compliant, then the threat level is less. In the same manner, this is what he's doing. Go walk the dogs. If you let me, if you say you're committed and you say you let me, then prove it to me. Walk the dogs. He's straight. He's going for a reach here. Like everything else that she has shown him that she's saying that he's not done or she's not done has told him she doesn't love you because she doesn't respect you, nor does she follow what you ask her to do. Okay. And he's kind of like maybe stretching, reaching for the stars here and like, okay, if she could just show me that she could walk the dogs, I got something to work with here.
I don't know, man. This is like mind blowing to me.
Respect, maybe I could, if she at least follows through with something I ask her to do, maybe I got something to work with here. I don't know. It could be that, or it could be he's trying to be domineering now, and he's trying to, overpower her because she hasn't been compliant to him this whole time. She hasn't, been submissive this whole time. Now he feels like his manhood could be, in jeopardy, and he's going to be domineering and force it upon her. It could be either one, but we don't know, people. We don't know. But I gave you two good options there.
It's very interesting thing to kind of think about. I mean, I'll tell you what.
I mean, it's a stupid thing to do it over walking the dog. I think it's stupid.
I haven't been in a relationship in years where I had to tell the girl what I wanted. Instead, it's typically her asking me what I want to make me happy. So the fact that he has to like tell her to do this type of stuff doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know. That's a whole different topic, but
it really is. Like there's enough indicators here, just by again the things that she said, the things that she tried to get a reaction out of him with, other men, she respects other men, or that just the little things that she said, those were points where she is trying to get him to react emotionally and get like angry and volatile. If you're really scared, if you're scared of abuse, you're not saying that shit. Because nobody else is there between them two. Yeah, the Ring doorbell is there, but he could delete that shit if he wanted to.
But he didn't. And why didn't he? Because he knows that there's
He didn't
underlying
care.
things. It's Ring because it's outside. So there's nothing recorded inside.
Yeah, he's
It's
like,
not the whole
didn't do
story.
anything wrong. Exactly. It's half the story.
And his comedy stuff. He comes home and it's all crazy. And he's like, walk the dog. Why haven't you walked the dogs? Why did the dog say you didn't give him the medicine? Can you walk? She's like, I can't give him medicine because I'm pregnant. Me, in my natural state, would still be like, okay, she can't. She's passionate enough about this specific thing that maybe I should just walk the dogs and give them the medicine. Like maybe this isn't a time to be right, but this is a time to be reconciled.
Wait a
Like
minute.
give up the need to be right.
Wait a minute. When is it never the time to be right? Aren't you always supposed to be on the side of right?
I actually would have to agree with Ruslan's statement, not tied to this, but there are times where you should just fall back, even knowing that it's wrong, just for sanctity of whatever the heck is going on in the relationship that you're having.
No, you could put a pin in it. You'd be like, all right, I know this conversation will continue if it's that big of a deal, but I'm not conceding and be like, okay, you know what, you're right, fine. I'm just going to concede. I'm just going to do things. No. I don't have a problem with, the dog walking thing, that's stupid. The medication thing, sure, that could be stupid too. I think these are very stupid and trivial things that he's demanding of her to do. But I think it points to a bigger problem. I think it points to the fact that she has habitually or consistently been inconsistent with showing him respect or or being able to follow through with the things that he's asked her to do.
Right. And dude, if they have all this money, which they do, then if she was unable to perform some of the tasks, why is she not just asking, hey, I need some more help?
Can we hire a nanny? Can we hire a house cleaner? Something while I'm pregnant.
Just a dog walker.
Yeah. Wag. Can we get a wag? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's ways that she could bring that up, and I don't think any reasonable person would be like, no, you need to do this because it's your job. Like, I don't see that really being a thing, but we don't know if she brought it up. Maybe she has, and maybe she hasn't. The fact of the matter is, again, he is trying to get her to show some compliance to him. She obviously doesn't respect him or him as her husband because she's not doing anything to show any form of respect towards him. People say like, oh, well, she was reserved and she wasn't as, cursing, or she wasn't, being as loud as he was. Yeah, because she was on the camera. She knew that she was going to record this. I mean, shit, she's the one that saved it, obviously. If she went this far as willing to save it, what makes you think that she didn't intentionally start this fight? Because we don't see the whole fight. We don't see the beginning of it. So we don't know whether who started this fight or not. But it's a possibility that she instigated this fight and she made sure that she stayed composed for the camera, just for the optics. Just saying. But Steven should have known that he has a camera there as well. He's a dummy. If it's in his house, he should know, like, oh yeah, I have a camera there. I better not look like an asshole if they've been going through this fighting as much as they have. But anyways.
Be reconciled, even if he's like even if he's in the right, whatever that means, right? But even if there was expectations, she dropped the ball, the house is a mess, whatever. Like you still take one for the team as the husband and the one who's not carrying twins, and serve your wife. Serve your wife. Lay down your life the way that Christ laid down his life for the church. That is what men are called to do.
No.
Are you committed?
No. when Christ laid his life down for the church, he was nailed to a cross. He died for the church. Laying your life down for your bride doesn't mean not holding her accountable, taking disrespect. Okay, that doesn't mean that. That again, his model of being a husband is being a bitch. His model of being a husband is being a slave. He wants to give all the responsibility, but he has no authority. Okay? Responsibility without authority is slavery. All right? That's what he's promoting. That's what he thinks that men should do. And you know what? There are too many pastors out there like him that preach that nonsense. It's not biblical. It's not. There's not. You can't convince me. You can't convince tons of pastors that know that this is not biblical. The servant leader model that he's trying to push out there, oh, you just got to serve her, is not what it is. It's a lie. All right. Oh my God, it pisses me off. I'm sorry, folks, but like this is what gets me, because you know what? I've been that guy that would follow Ruslan's words. I was like that. I was like the guy like Ruslan was in my last marriage. All right. And it didn't do me any good. No. Her cheating, that was my fault. For some reason, I'm responsible for her cheating. That's basically what he's trying to do. He's saying, your wife not doing anything? Serve her. Like, come on, man. Hold women accountable. If you cannot hold both men and women accountable, you don't belong making an opinion on nothing. Just shut the fuck up and play your little rap music that you try to do and do that. But don't come out here and say that you're holier than thou and you're going to be preaching the gospel, but you're only preaching to one half of your audience. Ruslan, you have both men and women as audience members. So if you're not going to preach both scriptures to everybody, if you're not going to be willing to do that to anybody, then don't do it for anybody.
I'm gonna walk the dog, put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dog? Don't you take that in?
As Crowder heads inside, Stephen gets angrier and angrier, and by his own admission screams, "I will F you up," at his pregnant wife, Hillary, who then flees their home. A lot of these creators use Christianity and their faith as a means to connect with the same conservative base. Okay. And being a conservative and being a Christian isn't always synonymous, especially when it seems like your faith is picked up and put down like some sort of accessory. And we can go to the far end extreme of this with a Nick Fuentes who says stuff like, when he's asked, would he date someone who's atheist and white, or would he date someone that's Christian and black, he would choose the atheist and the white person, but he's a Christian. He's a Christian nationalist or whatever, Catholic nationalist.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
There is, in my opinion, without a doubt, people who appropriate Christianity in the political spheres to get clicks and aren't processing what does it actually mean to be a godly husband. In his initial response to Candace Owens attempting to extort him, Crowder said he made the wrong choice. As someone that's been married for 15 years, it's not about making a choice. It's not about the choice you made to marry the wrong person. It's about the consistent choosing to handle your marriage and your life God's ways. And that is substantially more than you being a conservative.
Let me point something out. Okay. Let me point this out. You can make a bad choice and marry the wrong person. Okay. You could have just made that decision all based on how you feel, how the butterflies in your belly, whatever. Right. And you may come to realize that you made the wrong choice. You picked the wrong person. It sucks. you know, but you made a covenant with God, and you made a covenant with your wife to love each other through sickness and health. You made this covenant to be married, all right, and you two became one flesh, as the Bible says. So at that point, yeah, you got to try to make it work. You have to do your best every day. And even if they are the most meanest or evil, just nastiest spouse or the most unattractive person there is, you got to ask yourself and pray, God, give me the grace to love this person or to respect this person today, because it's really freaking hard. Yes, that's what you got to do. But there comes a point when their behavior is intentional. There comes a point when their behavior is causing the problems or adding to the problems that you guys already have. And at some point, okay, we don't live back in the biblical times. All right. Back in the biblical times, guys could tell the women, hey, as for me and my house, we serve the Lord and we're going to do this, what I said. The Lord said, I'm the head of this household, so you're going to fall in line. Men don't have that authority anymore. Men just have all the responsibility. Okay. Men can't tell their wives anything these days. All right. Doesn't happen. Men don't get to exert the role that they're given. They are a glorified blame, blame person. When shit goes wrong, like you see, why is it that's going wrong? It's the husband's fault. He's not doing his job. He's not loving his wife, regardless of what she's doing. Yeah, she may not be being submissive. She may not be respectful, but you know what? He's not loving his wife. So really, it all goes back to him not loving his wife. Maybe if he loved her more, as Ruslan says in a previous video, maybe you just got to love your wife until she's lovely. No, because sometimes people choose not to be loved by you. Sometimes people choose to be disrespectful to you. Sometimes people choose, regardless of what you do, not to do what they're supposed to do. And you have to take, at some point in time, you have to say, I'm getting the medium is the message. This relationship's not going anywhere. I'm having a hard time loving you. That means I'm not able to fulfill my commandment that God's given me, but it's evident that you have been failing yours. So we either go to counseling or we try to make this work, or we end it and we both have to realize that we sinned and we broke the covenant and we're moving on. Okay, to sit there, and he always tries to put the blame entirely on the man. And you know what? It pisses me off because he acts like women don't have any sin according to their status or their nature.
In one of the last videos that you shared with me from him, he essentially said, my wife runs the household. And then he quotes the scripture later on in the video and says the man is to run the household. I'm just like, where is this confliction? He's a good speaker. Don't get me wrong. He's a good speaker. He's entertaining to watch. But are we really teaching a good message here? I don't think so. I think we're missing a lot. And that's what I love about everything that you've done, Glenn, like attacking this, because it really, not attacking it, but dissecting it and coming from it with a very unbiased perspective and be like, look, it is what it is. Let's take a look at it. And this is what I think. And I just don't understand why Ruslan has that angle. It just doesn't make sense. It's not helpful. Are you still there? Do you want me to?
No, let me show you this. I'm showing you guys this. This is Ruslan
This
talking.
is not, no.
Let me show you this. Okay. He did a stream of talking about Ephesians 5 and wives submitting to their husbands and stuff like that. Watch this. Look how contradictory he is. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Listen.
This is not, no, woman submit to me, can stay home with the baby, but in exchange, I got to submit to them.
So which one is it, Ruslan? Which one is it? Is it wives are to submit or not to submit? Because you just said it is not when you have to submit to me. But then again, you just said, oh, you have to submit. You know, you tell people all the time that only if they read the Bible, if they did God's way. Okay, what is God's way, Ruslan? It's wives to submit to their husbands, husbands to love their wives, wives to respect their husbands. That is the order that God ordained. That is the order that God wants. But for you to tell people that it's not, women, you have to submit to me, because yes, it is. It's woman, if you're a wife, you have to submit to your own husbands. That's what the Bible says. It's right there. That's the Bible. That's right. This is everything that Ruslan did not want to talk about. She's not being submissive to her own husband. Yes, he is not being loving. He's not being very loving to his wife.
He's not being a leader. That's the biggest thing. And I want to
Yeah.
make sure that
But
this
I don't
does
even
not
think
get
he-
lost. Hold on. Let me just speak on this for a second. One thing I do not want to get lost here is women are not slaves to their husband. When a lot of women hear like servants or submissive, or when they hear even just the word submissive, they think servant. No. Women are not meant to be servants to their husband. There's a reason why yin and yang exists. It's two balancing forces of energy to make a very tight, powerful bond. And that's what marriage is meant to be. The man is the leader of the household, and the woman is the keeper of the household. And it creates an incredibly beautiful family structure. And that gets so lost in translation for whatever reason with people like Ruslan and situations like this. It's always blame the man bad. Well, as we weaken, if you imagine it kind of like how the yin and yang is, as you start to weaken the man, then the woman is trying to power over or gain more control, and then everything just falls out of alignment.
Do me a
It's like
favor.
a
Do me a
simple
favor.
math equation. Go ahead.
So let me just say this. All right. I'm not a perfect Christian. And I'll tell you right now, Ruslan's not a perfect Christian. Although he pretends to be.
Let's be fair here. Nobody is a perfect Christian.
No. Some people think they are, obviously. Some people present themselves to be holier than thou and think they're better than people. Let's be honest here. That's what we're seeing here with his critique. I don't know Ruslan's personal life. All right. I don't know how good of a husband he is. He may be the greatest husband in the world, or he may be the shittiest. His wife could be the greatest wife in the world, or she could be the bitchiest. I don't know, nor do I care to find out. All right. But I do know he's not a perfect husband. I do know he's not a perfect Christian. I do know that we all have sin and we all fall short. So, the Bible says, Jesus said, he who without sin, go ahead and cast the first stone. Ruslan has been throwing a lot of stones at Crowder tonight. All right. And I'm only pointing out the mistakes that he is doing from the Bible. I'm pointing out what God's word says that Ruslan is not following. That he's not presenting in this issue. I'm not saying Crowder is innocent. I'm not saying Crowder is the good guy. I'm not saying Crowder is the victim at all. I'm saying that they're both wrong. There's both issues on both sides that they could address and fix. That there's two parties here that need to be held accountable, not just one. There's two people here that are responsible for the fall, the collapse of their marriage, not just one. But Ruslan and like a lot of other commentators are painting it out to be all on him. And I'm tired of that shit, because that is not what God's word says to do. But I digress. How you want to wrap this up, Huds?
I tell you, man, I've been so stuck on this for a while. And that's why I brought it up to you initially, is like, dude, we got to talk about this. And it was one of the wisest things you ever said. Not you've said a lot of wise things, but it was one of the wisest things I've heard before, but I had not heard in a while. I don't want to do that because I'm going to wait until we have all the facts. And that was like, you imagine you're outside and you've been hiking all day and you're absolutely drenched in sweat. You've gone like 4.5, maybe 5 miles, and you're finally coming back down to base camp, and you're just, oh man, you're just drenched, and you want nothing more than just a refreshing glass of water. It's like walking up and you're just a glass of water with a little pinch of lemon in it. And it's exactly what I needed at that time, because that is the truth. We need that hydration right now in the world, because it is ridiculous how every single time something comes up, everyone races to go ahead and comment on it, not thinking about the person, because they don't care. They just want to get the clickbait. They want to get the views. They want to get the money. They want to get the ad revenue. They don't care about the facts. And I want to get back to being what society was supposed to be. And that is a group of people moving upwards together. And I think that's really a lot of the stuff that you've been doing, Glenn, talking about, certain things with Ruslan, talking religion, intertwining some of those things with modern day society. And that's why I'm like really glad that we held off until now to talk about this and then kind of dissect it a little bit further, because this is the type of information that people need to hear.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn and give myself a pat on the back, but I've been down this road before. I've made an ass out of myself, jumping to conclusions at times. I've also been the person in a bad spot, like where my actions are being questioned. I'm looking, I look bad. Someone's accusing me of something that I did not do. And I know what that is like, to be painted out to be something that you're not. And you just wish that people would you just wish that they would just take the time to wait till everything is out and then come to a conclusion. Then judge me. If you're going to judge me, then please do me a solid. You don't have to, but just do me a solid and wait till all the information about whatever Glenn is doing is out in the open before you decide to make a conclusion. Because I'm going to do that for you, because I think that's the right thing to do. Okay. But I'm not going to do this. I did not want to do this topic. Huds, how much of this topic I avoided? How many times did I shoot you down when you were first pitching it to me?
Let's just say I've been very ticked off at you this entire week.
Like, you gave this to me, on Tuesday?
Yeah. And then I kept kind of repitching it. I was like, but what if we did it this way?
And
what if we did it that way?
What did I keep
And
on
it didn't
telling
matter. You were like, knock it off over there. I don't need to hear it.
Yeah, just basically like, look, we don't have enough information to go off of. And I still don't want it. I didn't want to talk about it tonight. But I end up wanting to talk about it. I end up realizing that, with everything that's being said, with everybody that's jumping to conclusions, okay, they're trying to destroy this guy's credibility. The guy doesn't have his family. The guy's wife doesn't respect him. The guy's wife doesn't want to be with him. Yeah, so he got a lawyer before she did. Why is that wrong? Did he want his marriage to work? He says he does. Well, why did he get a lawyer? Because regardless of what he wants, he has to prepare for the worst, so he's not blindsided. That is a smart thing to do. Hey, let me consult with the lawyer, because look, man.
Let's look at the reverse. Let's say he didn't, and things went way downhill,
and he loses everything.
Then people would say, oh, he should have gotten a lawyer. Like, come on.
Exactly. So he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. He said he didn't want to get a divorce. I believe him.
I believe him too. Yes.
Maybe he really wanted his wife to be the woman that
he wanted his wife to be the woman that she was not. But
exactly. And you know what? The reason why she couldn't be the woman that she was not to him, because apparently he wasn't the woman, or he wasn't the man that she needed him to be for her to be submissive. And I'm sorry, it does go down to, intersexual dynamics. Look, if you're not the guy that makes your woman want to be submissive, you can't force her to be submissive. Okay,
Correct.
guys, I hate guys that are controlling. Look, guys, you don't get to be control. You can't control her. She has free will. God did not create us to have free will and be able to make our own decisions for some other person to control us. If God doesn't control us, nobody should be able to control us. Okay, like we have laws that govern us. That's the one thing, but nobody can make you do something. They should not. You have free will to choose what you want to do, and that is by design. God created that. So if God is not making us robots to where he can control us, and he gave us free will, allowing us to choose what we want to do, then as a husband, I'm doing that too. I don't control you. You get to choose what you want to do. But guess what? There's consequences for your choices. There's consequences for your actions. If you do something that doesn't align with where I'm taking this family, then guess what? You could be breaking up this family. And that means if I see that behavior, as much as I want you to stay and be my wife, but I see that you are showing me that you are not going to be my wife. You're not being my wife. Your behavior is saying otherwise. You're just my wife in name. Then I'm going to talk to a lawyer, and I'm going to prepare. I'm going to make sure that my assets are covered, because I can't be asked out because you choose, do you want to be, on your way out? There's nothing wrong with him preparing and talking to a lawyer. That doesn't mean he doesn't want to love his wife. It's just,
Yeah. Because quite honestly, I think he wanted it to work. I think that there is some internal work that he still has to do. He does not
absolutely.
like kind of what you were saying.
He's
You can't be controlling, and you can't force your wife or girlfriend to submit to you.
Yeah. I mean, I would have handled that situation completely different. I would have done it completely different. I would have just been doing dread game the entire time. Okay, things are not getting done the way I asked. Cool. I'm withdrawing my time. I'm withdrawing my resources. I'm withdrawing my attention. Okay, and I'm waiting for you to come to me and ask me what's going on. Why have you been so distant? Well, you know what? I'm being distant because I don't feel that you're respecting me, and this is why.
Well, see, here's the danger too, and this could be an entire other topic, and we're going to find out over time what this looks like. But you can imagine that he is always on the road. He is always busy. Mm-hmm. So she definitely
he's not doing.
Can I just finish my statement, man?
Yeah, but he's not doing performances like that. He works in a studio. Come on.
He does change my mind here and there, but regardless, does not matter. She probably has girlfriends that she hangs out with a lot, and I'm sure there's been a little chirp, chirp, chirp in the ear about certain things, and that may be why she's kind of turned away from, whatever life she has, because but there's all these other things out there, and so she doesn't want to be this submissive wife at home. She wants to see the world. I mean, heck, they were both virgins when they married. They were both their first. That does kind of say a lot. Temptation is hard.
Well, actually, technically, those that are virgins typically tend to have more fulfilling marriages because they have nothing to compare it to. So, I mean, statistically, here's the thing. Here's another thing about this. All these guys saying they want a virgin, look, as you could tell, even virgins may have a hard time pair bonding. Okay, just because she's a virgin doesn't mean that it's going to work out. Just means the chances are higher that it does.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean it's foolproof. It with this point, like this again, what this comes down to is they were young. They probably didn't vet each other out properly. Okay.
They didn't even know how to.
I don't know if he was, famous or making a wave, at the time they got married.
You didn't know? He was one of the voice actors on Arthur.
Okay, so then he was somewhat see, I don't know this. I don't know. So he was someone famous or someone of, status. So yeah, she probably thought, okay, here's a great guy. He's rich. He's got money. Okay, I'm going to marry him. I mean, there's articles of women saying that their first marriage is going to be for money and their second marriage is going to be for love. So I don't put it past women to marry people just for financial gain anymore. Okay. And, Now I lived with them, married for him almost 10 years. I might be entitled to some alimony, and I got kids out of him. Oh yeah, he's gonna be paying me. Not saying that's where her mind is or what she is, but you know what? To say that it's not a possibility is also to say like it's not a possibility that OJ, didn't murder Nicole.
And it's interesting, like with the timing. I know we spoke about this a little bit. It's interesting with the timing because the law in Texas is that if you are married for 10 years, then you are subject to alimony.
Is that what it says for sure?
And yes. And it looks like they were technically married for 9 years when the divorce was filed. However, this is only coming out in 2023, which would be 11 years, which means this could all be completely timed. So I can't wait for this story to unravel. I would love to call this, Revelations, the book of Steven Crowder, but I don't know if we're at Revelations yet.
No, I do want to share something with everybody real quick. Hold on. I'm trying to find something real quick. Hold on. But keep going, Hudsman. You're doing such a great job.
Oh, thanks, babe. I love you so much. No, but I love this story, and I find it so interesting because like I've known of Steven Crowder. I watched him a lot back in like 2017. I stopped watching for a while. He had a great Christmas special back then. And then it was so weird, like watching him recently in like the past month, and then boom, this like blows up. And I'm like, oh Lordy. Because he's the type of guy who talks mostly about politics. So when it's like a political time, which right now kind of is, especially with Joe Biden saying he's going to go ahead and run for re-election, and we've got the next presidential campaign, within a year and a half, I'm pretty excited to see what's going to go on. And so then I turn to some of these commenters because like they have fun with it as well, which I think is fantastic because, look, we live in a ridiculous world. Let's live in it with a little bit of fun and a little bit of a laugh. And so that was so great about Steven Crowder is I could always, decipher what's serious, what's not, and just have a laugh with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't understand why they're painting him in such a bad light. And it seems so timely alongside the whole.
Let me tell you why she's doing this now. This is my opinion. You guys see this? Do we need to blow up the screen?
Yeah, blow it up a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. Zoom in a little bit and it should be fine. Can you zoom the screen? Can you zoom the screen?
Yeah, let me.
I don't know if you have a touch screen, like something like that, but do like a zoom of like 150. Yeah, like that. That's perfect.
Okay. These are this is the qualifications or the call for to qualify. So any spouse could ask for maintenance during the divorce process in Texas. However, the court only awards support if the requesting spouse does not have enough property at the time of divorce to provide for basic needs, and at least one of the following circumstances exist. Get ready. First one, the supporting spouse was convicted of an act of family violence against the other spouse or couple's children within 2 years of filing a divorce while pending divorce. That's why she released the video, because she didn't meet this one. The couple has been married for at least 10 years and the dependent spouse lacks the ability to earn income, to meet basic needs. Okay. It's not that.
Boom, baby. I told you.
She's not disabled.
I told you.
Right?
That's
she's not
why.
disabled.
It's 9 years. She was
she released
really
it now. Now it wasn't an act of violence, like he didn't strike her, but they will use that he was yelling at her and you saw how he was berating her as they're framing it out to be, right, as violence. And that will be the argument that they use to get him to pay spousal support.
We already know this court case. Oh my God.
And like it just like, man, wow. Like it just, nobody thought about this. Why didn't anybody think about this? Why didn't like Ruslan or, you know, Candace Owens or anybody of, like, these people are supposed to be smarter than us. They're
No,
supposed to be smarter than
dude.
me.
No, you don't get it. You don't get it. Man bad. Man bad. Man bad.
That's stupid.
People don't care. That's really what it comes down to, is people don't care. And I'm not expressing it fully right now, and I don't tend to do it online, but this type of stuff of like man bad as the like the first mode of focus, it makes me just hate society. It really does. I don't get it. I don't understand it, because we live in a society where it's supposed to be, you know, innocent until proven guilty.
No,
But you're dragged through the public court of opinion before it even gets to an actual court. And what good does that do anybody? I just don't understand it. I don't know. I'm like, my head has been so wrapped around this one for years, especially like going through some of my own experiences. I know you've gone through experiences as well, but it just confuses me. And I just want to get back to a time where right is right and wrong is wrong. And I didn't think that that would be so much to have to ask.
it's only right if the woman's right. If the man's right, no, the man's wrong. You know, I do want to like give like a shout out to at least like a couple of decent pastors, because I know everybody thinks that when I criticize Christians or, you know, pastors, that I must be anti-God or anti-Bible or, you know, anti-church or anti-Christian. I'm not. I have a degree in this. Like, you know, I love it so much that I actually went and studied it for, you know, as a college degree. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I invested my time into it. It's not that I hate this. I hate the fact that people are misusing it and misrepresenting it. I want to point out these two guys though. And it's important because, you know, a lot of guys have come up to me like, well, Glenn, where can we go? Where is the church that we could go? If all the pastors are doing this, and it's not all churches. Okay, it's not all churches. So let me share this.
Now, you know, one of the things that we were talking about before we started recording is just some of the statistics now, you know, in terms of like how rampant divorce really is. And when it comes to divorce, you know, because what I continue to hear people, you know, do, you know, the classic, you know, Mother's Day sermon is, you know, thank God for mothers. Father's Day sermon is, you know, do better, men. You're lousy. And so still to this day, when you think of divorce and these kinds of things, like most pastors and most Christians, they think, yeah, men are adulterous, you know, and their porn habits, and you know, and yeah, men are sinners. Men need Christ. Men need to man up and to repent and to lead in repentance and all those things. But that's I just feel like we're not addressing the problem because we're just not willing to look at the cold hard facts. We're not willing to live in reality. And the reality is that men are sinners, but women are sinners too. And some of the statistics are very unfavorable towards women. Can we look at some of those?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's because it creates this environment where we just give women a pass on everything. So I think there's sort of like I have talked about with Michael Foster, like vintage foolishness, right? Foolishness that matures generationally and gets worse over time. I think this is certainly true on the women's sin because it hasn't been dealt with. So yeah, I mean, these statistics go against everything that you find in the mainstream media, but you've got 70% of divorces in America are initiated by women. 70%.
What?
That is an absolutely high number.
70%.
So women, yeah, 70%
Listen
of
to
women
this
are
part.
initiating divorces. And then this is a really interesting kind of subset of this. When you go to college education, so college educated women initiate divorce at a rate higher than 90%.
Okay, so just to make sure that people don't miss that, because this is staggering. So you're saying across the board, out of every divorce that happens in America, 70% of those divorces in married couples in America are initiated by the wife, not the husband, but the wife.
That's correct.
And so that leaves 30%. So that means 70 is over 2 times. So every time you see a divorced couple, you've got for every one of those, you've got almost 2.5 times the chance that the woman is the one who initiated
Yep.
that divorce, not the man. And then you're saying for women who are college educated, that it's over 90%. So over
Over
9
90%.
times. Yeah. But it's
Yeah,
just,
which
men
it's
need to be better and women are great, right?
yeah, and that's kind of what's interesting about it is like, okay, so you go to the Matt Chandler stuff, Jesus wants the rose. You just the stuff that we kind of laugh at, but yet it's still predominant in the churches where, I know it's different at our church. I'm sure it is at yours as well.
Pay
but,
attention, people. Listen to
we're
what he
actually
says.
preaching to women and saying, hey, you have to deal with the sins that are particular to women, and here's what they are. Here's the ways that you're prone to sin against your husband and nag him, and on and on the list goes. So we address that, but the culture at large doesn't. In fact,
Right.
what we're told, there was a good book by Christina Hoff Sommers. It was called The War Against Boys. And it goes back to like the mid 80s to present day. And it's basically talking about how like the whole education system is like the world is slighted in favor of men and women are always getting the short end of the stick. But then she goes through and she unpacks the data and she's like, it's the opposite. The opposite is actually true, that women are favored at every turn. And so here's
Yeah.
a female author saying that and saying, no, that literally like the entire school system is set up so that women can succeed.
Mhm.
And as a result, boys, men are suffering. So yeah, I think that what's the long term of all of that? Well, I think that there's a lot of men who feel this sort of black pilled feeling of like, what am I supposed to do about this? The system is rigged against me, right? We had the case of Jeff Younger in Texas. I don't know if you were following this, but his wife wants to make their son transgender. And Jeff
Right.
was like, absolutely not. And it goes to court, and the judge is like, no, not only is this going to happen, Jeff, you're not allowed to talk about it. And, this is like, so as men, it's easy to understand why a lot of men would feel totally just silenced and feel a pretty great sense of oppression.
Right. And real quick, just to go back for a second, I completely agree, and we'll keep moving with that because there's a lot to unpack. But
Yeah.
To play the devil's advocate for anybody who would counter, with the earlier statistics that you just presented, across the board, 70% of divorce is initiated by women. And then when it comes to college educated women who are in marriage that ends in divorce, it's over 90% of the wife who initiated that divorce, not the husband. One of the counters that I frequently have heard from people is they'll say, because I'm aware of those statistics, and people say, well, the reason why women initiate divorce more than men is because men are
Listen to
physically
this.
stronger.
Listen to
And
this.
so divorce, leaving, abandonment, physically retreating from the marriage is the only course of action that a woman has at her disposal. Whereas the man doesn't feel as much of an urgency or a need to get out of the home and get out of the marriage because he's physically superior to his wife. He's not physically threatened. And so, the real reason why women are divorcing their husbands, several times more than husbands are divorcing their wives, is because there's domestic violence in the home, there's physical abuse, and that's always the guys.
Listen to what he
So we
says
talked
here.
about this a
This
little
is
bit before we
very
started recording. Can
important
you
here.
read the statistics on that, Eric?
Hey, I'm Kayla, and I'm one of the AI voices from Revoicer. I can be sad, and you'll think.
Yeah, and Joel, you're absolutely right. There is domestic violence in the home. Unfortunately, for the people who make that argument, so this is from one study, it says that 70% of domestic violence in relationships is perpetrated by the women.
Yeah.
So again, it's
That's
not
how
like
I got
a
arrested.
49 split here.
And the men
that's the
underreport.
Yeah, that's the other thing they found is men are much less likely to go to the authorities or anybody else and say, yeah, my wife, my girlfriend, whatever, she's been beating me.
Right,
But
which I understand.
70%,
I
Joel,
feel like
that's
pretty
high.
shameful. Yeah, that's high. So 70. So this is the same statistic as divorce. So
Mhm.
70% of women across the board, whether that's the average of college educated, non-college educated, across the board, 70% of women in America who are married, who get divorced, 70% of them initiated that divorce. And then when it comes to domestic violence, if there's domestic violence in a home, in a marriage between husband and wife, again, it's 70% of the women who initiated that violence. And you and I have both, um, talked about this, and not with specificity, not sharing events, particular events, or certainly not sharing names. But both of us, over the years in pastoral ministry, have dealt with couples within the church, and not just within, J.D. Greer's church, but within, true gospel preaching churches like yours and mine. We've dealt with married couples where,
listen to this,
where it's the wife who is physically assaulting her husband, and I've had to deal with those cases, and it's really challenging, to be just practically, telling the husband, you must get out, you must physically, you have to run, and when you run, here's another thing, like, you can't push her, because people don't understand how much stronger men are than women. You cannot push her, even just to try, because I've dealt with cases where the husband has been physically cornered back into a bedroom in the home, and she's blocking the door, and then she's throwing things,
sound fucking
beating and hitting him, and it's like, you've got to get out of there, but you can't push her, because I've dealt with those cases too, where I was just trying to leave and I pushed her, and she flew and hit the wall. And dude, it's a nightmare having to pastor through those kinds of situations. I'll say it like this. In my pastoral experience, which granted, I'm not 70 years old. I haven't been doing it for 50 years, but 10 years, give or take. In my decade of pastoral experience, I've never actually counseled a married couple where the husband hit his wife. I have only counseled in all the domestic violence issues, which there have been a few. It has always been the wife is physically hitting, I'm talking about closed fist, hitting her husband. And the most that a husband has done is pushed her to try to get out of the way, to run out of the house. It's
really interesting, Joel.
I don't know if I'm gonna listen to this anymore,
right?
Just because it's
guys
so,
who were there was
so
legit,
personal
like,
to my
domestic
own
violence. But I would say, on the whole, my experience in 10 or so plus years, it's more than that.
No, I think it's very important that we play this.
It is. I'm just trying to express. Just understand
No, I
this.
get
I'm
you.
just trying to express
I get-
for
I
those
get
that
you.
are like listening, and those that like understand the situation or have ever been in it. I got arrested for like this exact thing. I did not know that you were going to like drop this on me, and it just like churns my stomach like thinking about it right now, about how
here's the
doing
silver
nothing
lining.
wrong doesn't mean anything at all in today's world, and it is absurd to me.
What this does do, listening to this, does give guys hope who are Christians that want to find a good church, right? There are pastors out there that are level-headed, that are balanced, that come at things from a real biblical worldview, not this warped Ruslan Bible worldview, but from a real biblical worldview, and understand that there's things that are going on that are not being addressed, and at least they're wanting to address both men and women. And that should be encouraging for guys that are believers in God and they want to find a good church. This is why I'm playing it, because we played Ruslan, and we've showed how many times Ruslan has attacked men and blames all the men for everything. I wanted to give the audience some good Bible Christian preaching men that are not woke, that are not leaning left, that are just straight down the center with the Bible. All right. So we only have a few more minutes.
Go on.
That now, but pastoral counsel and that sort of thing, I would say it's much more common to see. It just doesn't. It gets looked down on as, oh, that's not a big deal. But it's like, again, wives who are throwing things, slapping, hitting, that sort of thing. It happens surprising number of times. I think for most people would be shocked to know how much that's happening. But it's also interesting. I was talking to a pastor who's in his 70s now, sort of at the retirement age, kind of seen it all across the last, 30, 40 years in ministry. And he said to me, he said, it's weird because when like 35 years ago, he said it was almost always, it seemed like predominantly like kind of deadbeat guy. Come on, get it together. And the ladies are like, sweet ladies like standing by. I'm kind of, oversimplifying this. But he said, it's amazing in the last 10 years, he said, how many times I'm dealing with women who are just like, you know what, I'm not emotionally fulfilled, I'm leaving him. And he said it's interesting how many of the guys are like, he's a good guy. Yeah, he's not, a character from a Christmas Prince on Netflix or something, but he's providing, he's meeting all the basic needs. He's taking the family to church, but it kind of goes to the I think it was last year or the year before, Adele, the singer, she leaves her husband and she goes on Oprah, and Oprah's like, why did you leave your husband? And she said, well, I just wasn't 100% happy all the time. And so I decided to leave him. And Oprah said, you know what, honey, that is such a powerful story for women today. And I'm sitting there thinking like, this is horrible advice. I mean, shamefully arrogant, self-centered. Nobody is telling them the reality of that situation, right? That you're destroying your own life. You're destroying your children's life. You're wrecking this guy's life.
Oh, and she
because
paid
you
for
weren't
it too, though.
100% happy.
She paid for it.
Like,
He
who's
gets
telling these
alimony.
people this stuff that you deserve to be 100% happy all the time? Guarantee you, Adele's not 100% happy now after she left. But again, yeah, I think that you're seeing this
Adele
trend where it's
lost
like
a
more
hell
and
of a lot of
more in
pounds,
counseling. Yeah,
Her husband's
actually
a
the women.
millionaire just from divorcing her.
Those sins haven't been dealt with.
Dude, it's just ridiculous.
So
We
I
live
mean,
in
you guys,
clown world.
we do. And I wanted to end on a positive note, though. I wanted to end with something positive because we've been really going in on pointing out a lot of the negativity of this world, and we're pointing out a lot of the negativity of Christian leaders, Christian inspirational people like Ruslan. But I wanted to point out that, what, guys, there are churches out there, there are pastors out there, there are men that understand that both men and women are sinful. Both men and women do sin. Women are not angels. Men are not angels. Okay, that we all fall short. And that, what? It's not always the guy. And they understand that. And I hope that encourages you guys. I know Pastor Joel Webben, I think his name is, he has a church in Austin, Texas. So if you're in the Austin, Texas area, go check him out. Good guy. I like to follow him, so that's just why I wanted to end it, on a positive note. Do I think Ruslan's a dumb shit? I think that he has an agenda. I think he's a smart guy, but I think he knows that if he aligns himself with a certain way and tries to stay kind of close to the conservative or the biblical standard, but leaning left, that he could both seem like he's being conservative, but also compassionate. The funny thing is, I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'll pass it to you, Huds. But, Thor told me something yesterday that was really interesting. He goes, what's the difference between the feminist and the trad cons these days? He's like, there's only one thing that separates them. I was like, what's that? He's like, their stance on abortion. That's it. And I was like, wow.
Mic drop.
You think about it. Traditional conservatives used to be the ones that said, husband lead the household. Husbands had the responsibility and the authority to govern his household. Now they're saying, believe all women. So the only thing that really separates them is abortion. One group is pro-choice, one group is pro-life. Other than that, they are like pretty much the same on their opinions on men, on relationships, on everything else. Think about it. But
my final thought. Yeah, my final thoughts on this whole thing, kind of what you were going for, and what I really, really appreciated with you sharing some of those clips of some good pastors. Understand that just because there's like one church or whatever they may fit you, doesn't mean it is the best fit. So if you're moving to a different area or you want to move out of your current church, I mean, heck, ask the question. Ask the question, have you ever dealt with an experience like this? Asking a question like that of what how have you handled divorce or separation or other things, or like what is your opinion on? I mean,
are you talking about
they're
like when
not-
you're interviewing the pastors?
Yeah, like when you're meeting with new people, because I know a lot of people don't tend to keep jobs for more than like 2 years. People travel around. How do you find a church that fits with you? And I think that that's
It's
a really,
pretty
really
simple.
powerful
You could,
thing.
I think you could just like by asking him, do you believe that husbands have the responsibility but also the authority to govern his household? And asking them just simply, what does that look like? And
But
if they
they're
tell you,
gonna
oh, you
they're
got to be a
gonna
servant
agree
leader,
with you.
run.
But see,
Run.
Glenn, that's the thing.
No. But
That's
if
the
they tell you that,
thing.
if they tell you the servant leader model, you run. They won't tell you that. So there's egalitarians. There's a lot of egalitarian churches that think men and women are completely equal. They have equal power, blah, blah, blah. Right. And the complementarians that are just pretty much egalitarians will tell you that, that you have to be a servant leader, right? That you have 99% servant and 1% leader, as Del Rock says. And he points that out. And there's an article that Del Rock wrote on his blog that points that out. Like there's this pastor that literally said that there's only just a little bit of time, only very rare occasions where the husband's supposed to lead. And that's that's part of the complementarian, sect too. So if they tell you like, yeah, a husband has the responsibility and the authority to govern his household, that means his wife does have to listen to him, then you might be at a decent place, okay? Decent church. But if you get any pastor who says that they're egalitarian or that, that you have to be a good servant leader, walk out the door, 2 fingers up, find the next one.
Well, I have to say, Glenn, that that's a great way to summarize what I was kind of getting at. And I have to say, I think Mr. Glenn Lawrence is the new age Del Rock. The entire thing.
But until next time, don't worry. I'll be making fun of Ruslan again, probably really soon. I'm doing my due diligence. And by the way, I'm not better than Ruslan. I'm not perfect. I'm just saying I'm not the one that's preaching bad, doctrine. That's all I want to say about that. He might be a better Christian than me, but he's definitely not a more knowledgeable Christian than me, because obviously he's wrong on a lot of things. But anyways, that's another story.
Close out with that. Was that Rolo's voice? Play that clip again.
Glenn Lawrence has been doing God's work.
I know who my God is. Hallelujah.